Welcome to my debate of the week on the state of wrestling 2020. Look, guys, we have a very unprecedented situation here. No one expected that this situation with the sickness that happened in China would affect everyone so fast, so widespread, and would shut everything down. And wrestling took a big hit. Because you can't have fans, and because you have no fans, you're just not going to have the same type of environment that you normally would. But let's make this really clear. I've heard the Sleg Daddy. I've heard JD NYC206. I've heard Alex, formerly the Lexman. I've heard the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I didn't listen to Solomonster, and I hadn't checked Andre much, but he's pretty much trying to take it in stride, the situation. Like myself, but I've heard a lot of people, and this is my thought about the situation. The Sleg Daddy pretty much said wrestling is screwed because everybody and their mother thinks because of this situation wrestling is bad because they can't get the numbers. Because if you've seen the ratings for AEW, NXT, and WWE in general, they're all down. And this is supposedly during the situation, but here's the thing that I do agree with the Sleg Daddy. Even before the situation happened, the numbers were never really that high. AEW was at 1.4 million. And before the pandemic, it was here. It was nearly 700,000 to 800,000. Now many people would say, well, that's due to NXT being on Wednesday with them and it split the fan base. Listen. I'm 48 years old. I don't say this a lot often, but I have seen wrestling the majority of my life, except for about 10 years that when I was married, I didn't really get a chance to see it from, 10 years, from 1991 to 92 to 2001 to 2. I didn't watch wrestling for 10 years. 1, I was going to school. 2, I was working. 3, I got married, and my ex-wife, my wife at the time, now my ex-wife, did not like wrestling. So for 10 years, I didn't watch wrestling constantly. I saw it sporadically. But I can tell you, after 30 years of watching wrestling, more than 30 years, I've been watching it since I was 6. Take 10 years out, I'm 48, nearing 49 years old. That's over 30 years. So I can tell you with honesty, it's not because of that. It's not because NXT is taking the fan base from AEW. It's that the wrestling fans are disenfranchised because of such bad booking from WWE. That's the truth. The booking pissed everybody off. So much they've turned to indie promotions to get what they need. And then here's the second part that many people do not want to hear or understand. Wrestling is not just all spots. And as much as Alex, formerly the Lexman, he understands that, he cares more about the spots than he does about, and I'm not trying to mess with him or try to cause a fight between us, but if he did see this, I'll say, Alex, how you doing, dude? I respect you. I love you. But I do not believe you understand 100% how you feel because you still care about spots more than you care about the characters and the story. And that's the truth. A lot of wrestling fans these days have basically been working and understanding and listening and caring about the indies for quite a while. Look at New Japan Pro Wrestling Noah. You got AAA. You got Lucha Underground. Then you have so many other places that have done nothing but high-flying wrestling. Yes, they had some level of character development, some stories once in a while, but it's been extremely high-flying wrestling that has captivated people. But here's the thing that 100% I do agree with the Sleg Daddy. If that was true, that high-flying wrestling and less about character development and storylines didn't really mean much, how come the ratings are so low? Because NXT, switching from being on the network to USA, should have more than 2 million people watching. They should have over 2.2, 2.3, 2.4 rating. More than Raw, more than SmackDown. They should be destroying it. But they can't even break 700,000. AEW is for the hardcore wrestlers. Yeah, they do actually pretty good storytelling like NXT does, but they have a lot of high flying, a lot of tag team wrestling, and they can't even break 1 million either. So that means there's something wrong with the formula they're using. Look at Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling had the X Division. Impact Wrestling had the knockouts. The older version of knockouts were not that great because it was kind of like the asses and the panty matches of the WWE. That was sort of what they started with, but they expanded on that and made it much better, being real wrestling for women there. Compared to the WWE, even though Trish Stratus and Mickie James and Victoria and Molly Holly, they busted their butt along with Lita to try and make it good. They still had to do panty matches. But in the end, they are similar because by nearing the end of the decade, going in 2010, well, before these women retired, they did care about doing real wrestling to a certain extent. But Knockouts did it much more better. But even they had problems. When they were doing exactly like the WWE was, their numbers were not 100% great. When they went away from that and tried something different, like the six-sided ring, the climbing the mountain, well, I can't remember it, the King of the Mountain tournament, working with X Division when it came to Ultimate X, they really expanded themselves. I think the major problem they had was two. One, hugely bad promotion from the network they were with. Spike didn't really give them a lot to work with. Second, which was the major problem, bad writing and bad management. You got, I know a lot of people like Russo, but Russo seemed to have major issues. Cornette had major issues. When it came to Dixie Carter, she had major issues. The one that was running it generally pretty good, not saying great, was Jeff Jarrett. But then he had no money, so he had to go over to the Carters, which they kept sticking bad writers and then worse writers. And then Hulk Hogan came in and made it worse. Then Eric Bischoff came in and made it worse. And then they left. They left Spike, went to Destination America. They tried Destination America, didn't work. Then they went from there to where they are now. Went through Anthem, and they tried with the new promotion from Jeff Jarrett, what was it, Global Force Wrestling, which didn't work either. So they kept going all over the place. And their numbers went from maybe 1.4, 1.5, maybe, down to where it is now. And they're maybe just rebuilding themselves on Access TV. I'm hoping the numbers are going beyond 500,000 to 6, maybe 7. And they can kind of equal what's going on with NXT and what's going on with AEW. But at least I'll say that at the times when they really were good, they were varied. They had really good character development. They had women wrestling, they had men wrestling, they had storylines. They made sure the stories were good, at least with the right people. Now they're almost like everybody else in certain situations. They are doing better. Like what's going on with Moose, that's interesting. I'm not totally agreeing with how the storyline was for Tessa Blanchard, but having her as a champion is still a difference. The only company I see that has tried to understand what's wrong with the business is NWA. That's the reason why they're different. Now, the question is going to be, can they survive this situation with the pandemic? Because NWA was just beginning to rebuild itself from their destruction in the 90s. But I don't know if Billy Corgan can actually recover from this, because he's pretty much putting his own money in. He bought the thing and he's putting his own money in. There's no guarantee he's going to survive this. If he doesn't, NWA will just get buried again, and maybe this time it'll go away. I'm not sure. But the only company that understands truly how to put over characters, how to do stories, and how to get the wrestlers to see themselves as something more is NWA. And it's not because I'm saying it because I love NWA. I do love it. But I'm seeing it from a point of view of a reviewer. And even though the Lex Man's not doing, well, Alex is not doing any reviews of it, JD NYC, he's not doing it. The Sleg Daddy only did maybe 1 or 2 episodes himself. And I'm sure there is on Andre's channel, he does have someone who also does NWA reviews when he was able to get him. Very few people do it. So the best company is NWA when it comes to what the people may really want, but it's too small to do anything, and the companies that are big enough to do something are not doing what NWA is doing. They're still basically doing high-flying spot stuff, and because they are, the crowds, as much as people say they love it, don't reflect it, even when they're all, understand, all these companies can still make money through the ratings. I mean, they have a set lock of their contracts with the networks, but the networks can give them a better, well, they can negotiate with the networks a lot better when their contracts need to be renewed. And in this situation, if they saw the ratings really big, they can really try to up the contract with more money. But with the numbers being so damn low, when they have to renegotiate their contracts, they're not going to be in a good position. So if they don't get things straightened out with understanding what needs to be done to bring fans back to wrestling, because remember, the majority of fans have watched WWE for decades. Since 2000, many fans have been watching since they were kids or when they were adults and they're older adults. And the wrestling has sucked. Maybe around 2007, wrestling has sucked from there to where it is now. And let's be honest. And I'm kind of going a little further than 10 years. I'm actually going much further than 10 years. I'm actually going back 13 years. But you get my point. Even in 2010, wrestling in WWE went from here. That is what's happened, which totally turned off everybody, and they've gone to the indies where they cared more about looking at spot fets. You know what I mean. Essentially, they care more about indie wrestling, but they're not willing to put in the effort to care for indie wrestling. They say they love indie wrestling, and now these companies are acting like indie wrestling, and they got no numbers to prove it. So this is just my feeling about the state of wrestling in 2020. Many wrestling promotions need to change. I would say have more of an NWA approach. Make it more about characters, more about storylines. Put all the other wrestling back to a certain extent, but not to forget it. I just hope you liked this video. Have a good day, have a good night, and give it a thumbs up. I don't normally ask for any of my videos to have thumbs up, but if you want me to be seen more, I know some people say I should get more subscribers. Just give it a couple of thumbs up. Hopefully the algorithm of YouTube will let more people see me. Peace.